So here's an example of demographics section. Mostly it's table tree overview or participant demographics. You can see here what a quantitative chapter will look like. You can see the different sections here. Now you can go on to Google and you can type in quantitative thesis, then whatever your field is, and put the word PDF after it. You'll have access to a wide variety of different theses that are out there. So the next part of this video is going to look at the quantitative aspect of doing a thesis, and more importantly, how your findings relate to your discussion. As to how statistics work, how statistics are compiled, any of that sort of stuff, I will refer you back to my maths grinds from my Leaving Cert where I barely scraped through. So if you're looking for any sort of statistical know-how or party tricks, they're not going to be found in this video. I'm basically just going to talk about the structure of the quantitative chapter. There's some good stuff here, so just hang in there and maybe you'll find something that can be useful for you. So just like the qualitative, it's going to be arranged pretty similarly. You're going to have a section that's going to introduce the demographics of it. Now it's going to be much more relevant in this type of a methodology. You're going to mention stuff like age, sex, location, breakdown of the roles, that sort of stuff. The best way to arrange this chapter is to use basically the headings you have in your questionnaire. So like the qualitative structure, which are arranged according to the themes you found from the data. In this one, it's best just to go with the actual sections you have in the questionnaire. Now, again, like I mentioned in an earlier video, really refine the questions down. Make sure the questions on the questionnaire are relevant, and just put the findings under each of those sections. So if you have a section called, you can use some themes. I mean, it's best to arrange a questionnaire according to themes. So if one of your themes covers 3 to 5 questions, then you can put all the findings from those 3 to 5 questions under that heading in the chapter, and it makes it much more easier then when you, in your discussion chapter, when you have to relate that back to the literature reviewed. The worst thing you can do is to have every section or every heading be an individual question. So if you've got 20 questions or 50 questions, you don't want to see 20 or 50 headings. Now, everyone's favorite part of the video, when I show slides and make things much more easier to understand. So here's an example of demographics section. Mostly it's table tree overview or participant demographics. Again, I'll just refer back to what I was talking about in the qualitative video. If you're going to use a moniker for the people that you surveyed, make sure it's the same moniker throughout. You can see here what a quantitative chapter will look like. You can see the different sections here. You mentioned like in relation to the demographics here, we can see that, or even the sample size, the number of participants responded to statements, what percentage that is, and what agreed and what disagreed. Especially if you're using a Likert scale, you can break that down even further. But it's just to give you an idea of what an actual chapter in a quantitative thesis looks like. Now you can go on to Google and you can type in quantitative thesis, then whatever your field is, and put the word PDF after it. You'll have access to a wide variety of different theses that are out there. And you can basically just get an idea of what they look like and what's expected of you. So also of note in this chapter is do not mention anything about the literature review here. That's just that comes in the next video, which is going to be the discussion video. But for now, I will just leave you with that sort of nugget to say, under no circumstances start discussing how the findings are related to the literature. Another thing as well, do not mention anything about the research question in this section. This section is purely just raw data. Here's everything that I got from the questionnaire, here's everything I got from the interviews, and that's it. There's no interpretation of it, there's no discussion of it, and there's certainly no mention of how it answers your research question. Because if you mention the lit review in here, then you have nothing for your discussion chapter. And if you mention the research question here, you have nothing for your conclusion chapter. So once again, Keep everything raw in this chapter, just raw data, raw questionnaire findings and raw interview findings. That's all. Yeah, so I mean, this video has hopefully shown you that it's not rocket science. You know, it's just basically, if you look at everyone's thesis over the years in relation to qualitative, quantitative, or mixed, they all broadly look the same and they all broadly follow the same structure. You're not being asked to reinvent the wheel. Anyone that has a findings chapter that arranges stuff, like you might arrange your findings according to the research question, that is an approach you can use, but it just causes so much trouble down the line. And I will bring that up further in the discussion chapter, but for now I would say if you follow this particular structure, you can't really go wrong.